Hey, everybody. Welcome to tonight's readings around family ties, where the Bold Strokes books authors gives you a sneak peek into their fictional familial ties. Did I get those words out properly? Some of my favorite characters are from family members in my book, so this should be fun. So I'm Dena Blake. I'm your moderator. And today we have with us, we have Santiago, Morgan Lee Miller, Krystina Rivers, and last but never least, Kris Bryant. Just a quick reminder for the audience of Zoom Basics, set your screen to gallery view so you can see all of us. The chat is live for comments, but if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A box. And we hope to have time at the end to answer some of your questions, okay? So I'm gonna begin with Sander. I had you listed for first, so we're gonna go that way, okay? So tell us a little bit about your book and then dive on in, okay?
Okay, I will be reading from The Speed of Slow Changes. It comes out in February. This is a contemporary poly interracial romance. I know that's a lot of words, but mostly it's poly. So the two main characters, Alexander and Lucas, are navigating, learning how to be with each other while also being with their partners and their other partners, and also their very diverse and very large families. So I'll be reading a section from Lucas's perspective, where he talks with his parents and his daughters around her cute stuff. "What's up, Mom?" I said, kissing her cheek. She smiled. She looked like she could have been a dwarf in a fantasy movie or a blacksmith in a medieval drama. In reality, she was a carpenter. I towered over her by nearly 1.5 feet, but I was pretty sure she could kick my ass. I followed her through the garage, out to her backyard workshop. As soon as we got into the shop, she turned her ball cap around, flashing her brown hair, cut into a mullet of all things. She also adjusted her glasses against her nose. They were safety glasses, but she wore them all the time as if she needed them to see. She picked up a pencil and a square and looked at me down the length of a hickory table she was working on. "What's up?" I said again, looking at the assorted half-finished furniture around the shop. "I thought you might want a practice run before JoJo gets a hold of you." I sighed. It wasn't all that exciting. Sylvie Lafferty knew me better than that. She just stared. "I met a guy, but I now work for him," I said. "So, nah, see, that's why you need practice. Sounds exciting enough. Ain't mine or your mom's fault you tell it bad. Start again." "Let's go inside so I can tell you and JoJo together," I said. She laughed. "I'm not going in there. She has the blender out." I gulped and felt my stomach turn. Juicing and smoothies and whatever were not the problem. JoJo's ability to make them was a whole different story. She tried to make me a leaf seed stem juice once from random garden items. It was like drinking wet hair and sand. Yikes. Fine. I told Sylvie everything that had happened between me and Al and about working with Coach. "But you have a date already, so why the long face?" "I don't have a long face." "You don't have a short one." Well, it's not like he even set a time. He'd said he said at the hospital that this unsolid idea of us, would have to wait until things had settled with his father. Then just today, he said 2 weeks. I get that that's the wait, but would things really be settled? Why didn't you set one? I don't know. Playing hard to get, not intentionally, waiting for something else. No, not, at least I don't think so. Scared? I didn't answer, which made Sylvie laugh. I watched for a while as she worked on the table. Mom and Ma were really not the settling type and had moved every few years when I was a kid, but they fell in love with painted waters when they came to help Kai through her pregnancy. When Sylvie got a few commissions from a local house flipper, they committed to staying. "Dad, damn," Lila shouted, breaking our concentration. We looked out into the yard. She was crossing the grass with an old Easter basket in her arms, and her rocks nested safely inside. "Gran wants you to come inside," Lila told me in a tone that was all business. When she made it around the table to Sylvie, her tone shifted. "Damn, look at my eggs." Very nice. Did you lay them? Sylvie asked. Lila giggled. No. I smiled at Sylvie. She picked up Lila, and the three of us headed into the house. Jojo was sorting through things in her pantry. I tiptoed up behind her and grabbed her sides and roared. She screamed and slapped my arm when she realized it was me. Don't do that, she said. I'll pee. What are you looking for? Sylvie asked her. Chia seeds, Jojo answered, shaking a mason jar. Sylvie gave me a knowing look. Jojo laughed, kissing the top of her head. Don't worry, Sour Purse, they aren't for you. Jojo was nearly as tall as me. She had brown hair and long limbs. She reminded me of slightly out of proportion cartoon moms. I remembered a photo of them in college, the one of the three that had my father in it. Jojo and Sylvie had been so close with him. What do you say, son? How about a health drink? Jojo asked. I had a shake at the gym, so I'm good, I said. It was a safe little lie. She frowned and then shook it off. My rhubarb was going to be so nice in the summer. It helped that I looked up that recipe for natural pesticide. Not that I want to get rid of all the bugs, but sometimes you need bugs and sometimes you need nice rhubarb. With that, she hit start on the blender, adding chia seeds as the assorted frozen veggies and fruits minced and then liquefied. So how was your party? She asked when the blender stopped. It was fine. I met someone. Ma, what was DeAndrew like? I mean, I can't even really remember him. Both Sylvie and Jojo paused mid-task. Sylvie was pouring a beer and it spilled over the glass. Jojo was trying to get the contents out of the blender with a spoon. They looked like I'd paused the TV in the middle of a lesbian sitcom. That's not what we rehearsed, Sylvie said finally, licking the beer she'd spilled on her hand. You met someone. DeAndrew. What makes you ask about him? Jojo asked at the same time. After a moment of silence, she added, You haven't asked about him in years. I shrugged and picked at the remains of the smoothie veggies littering the counter in order to occupy my hands. I have a new client, the dad of the guy I met at the party. I was just thinking about dads. They both blinked at me again. Here, Sylvie said, sliding me the beer. Why don't you start that story over? That's it.
Wow, thanks, Sandra. That's great. You have lots of great character descriptions and lots of family in there. Perfect, very perfect. And I apologize, I didn't read your bio. I'm going to do that now real quick before we do your question. Okay. Okay. Sandra Santiago primarily writes romance and speculative fiction. When he's not writing, he's reading or walking the dog. He will be reading from his third novel with bold strokes books entitled The Speed of Slow Changes. This contemporary romance is set in the same small Georgia town as his Lambda Literary Award nominated novel, Best of the Wrong Reasons. Again, I apologize for that. I got excited. It's my first panel moderating.
No problem.
Okay, so my question for you is, which I think I've already seen right there, is do you usually go into great detail about your main character's family or keep it high level, just like in the back?
That's actually a fun question because I think it depends on the characters. So for Al and Lucas, their families are front and center. So Al and Lucas are both married. They have children. Al has 7 children. Lucas has the one daughter, but his moms are involved. There's brothers and sisters and dads and not dads. So for them, half of their battle is figuring out whose family belongs where and what do they want now. For other characters, so in Best of the Wrong Reasons, it's very much a different story as far as how family goes. And in that, the main character, Orion, is very reluctant to talk about his family. Most people are, you could be friends with Orion, like he's the type of guy you could be friends with for years, and you'd be like, oh yeah, my brother called me, and you're like, you had a brother? Why didn't you say something? So I think it depends on the character and how involved they want their family to be in this particular segment of their journey. I love families. I love reading about people. I'm nosy like that. So if I write a character, I know all about their family, even if they don't want to talk about it. So.
I'm with you there. You know, the family makes the story more interesting, especially if they're quirky. So, yeah, thank you. Great reading.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we will call on Morgan Lee Miller. Morgan Lee Miller writes contemporary romance. Sometimes it's young adult, other times it's new adult, and recently it's adult. Not sure what you mean by that, but we'll find out. Why pick just one when you can write them all is apparently her writing philosophy. She's a daydreamer by day, a procrastinator by night, and somewhere in the between, she attempts to write. She has just released her 6th novel with Bold Strokes Books and is currently writing her 7th. Morgan is reading from her newest release, The Hues of Me and You.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so I'm going to be reading from The Hues of Me and You, which is my 6th novel with BSB. And this is a second chance romance about Arlette and Brooke, who were best friends and roommates in college. They had a short fling before it ended abruptly. And so the book starts 5 years later, and they cross paths and realize that the chemistry between them is still very much there. So the scene I'm going to be reading from today is going to be between Arlette and her grandpa Harry, and he is one of the closest people she has in her life. And Arlette is stuck in life with a job that she doesn't want in a relationship that feels stale. And having just reunited with Brooke, her former best friend and roommate, she's even more confused about what she needs to do to feel like she's living the life that she needs to be happy. So she turns to her grandpa Harry for advice, and this is the scene. After the first puff of her cigar, Arlette heard grandpa Harry's slow footsteps creaking along the boat dock. He grunted as he lowered himself into his chair. "You didn't wait for me. I take that personally," grandpa Harry said. "Sorry, I've been longing for this peace since Sabrina arrived." Arlette looked at the cigar between her fingers as the tip flickered orange. "Getting straight to it, huh? What's going on, Arlette?" She took another puff, and the sounds of the summer night blanketed them, the frogs chirping, crickets singing, and the water lapping at the dock. "You can stall all you want, but I know something's wrong. You seemed fine until Sabrina came and told everyone that she bought the house." Arlette let out a hollow laugh. She and her girlfriend Sabrina still hadn't talked since dinner when Sabrina had informed Arlette she purchased the house without consulting her first. "Is something going on between you two?" Nothing was going on between them, literally nothing. No sparks, no conversations, apparently no respect either. "Remember the crab feast the summer after I graduated college?" Arlette said. "You gave me that amazing Cuban cigar, and we sat out here for like 2 hours." "I do. You were pretty heartbroken, if I recall." At the time, Arlette had been home for a month and still hadn't shaken the pain of what had transpired with Brooke. "I was pretty heartbroken. Good memory." "You said you ruined your chance with a girl?" "Yep. And then you told me how you met Grandma Dot when you were at the Naval Academy. You met her during a night out, found out she was a nurse, and then faked an injury just so you could see her working at the hospital." Grandpa Harry laughed, which naturally made Arlette smile because his laugh was so full, as if he had so much happiness inside that a bit slipped out and shined with each laugh. "I couldn't help it. She was the prettiest nurse in town. You told me back then that you always knew with her. You always felt it." "I did. I can't really explain it, but there was something in me that knew she would be my wife." "How did she know that she was the one? You were married for 64 years. How does that even happen?" "I knew it in my gut. I just sensed it." "But how?" "Anytime I was near her, I felt it right here." He tapped a spot on the left of his chest. "Every dang time. It never went away. In fact, it got stronger the longer we were together. You can roll your eyes as much as you want, but I really do feel like I fell in love with her 64 times." Arlette loved how Grandpa Harry wore his heart on his sleeve. The Navy, his high-ranking career in the military, and time working as the Secretary of State had never shoved his heart further up his sleeves. It was always there, dangling for people to see. She never had to question his love for her grandma. He made sure everyone knew how much he loved her throughout their marriage. Since her passing 2 years before, he hadn't ever been shy about how much he missed her. Now, at the mention of her, that sparkle appeared in his eyes again, one that faded without his wife keeping it alive. Arlette didn't think it was possible for Grandpa Harry to love his wife more, but his love for her had grown even after she was gone. Theirs was a timeless love story, and that was the kind of love she wanted. However, the last few months, Arlette had wondered if she'd been setting unrealistic expectations with Sabrina. Arlette wasn't a needy person. She liked her space and alone time, but it was nice to be wanted and prioritized, like she mattered to someone when no one else was watching. And never once had she felt it in her chest with Sabrina, like Grandpa Harry had described. Why are you asking about this, Arlette? She was afraid to admit it out loud because that would make it true and official. She hated disappointing people. She hated disappointing her parents, and she really did care about Sabrina. But she wanted a 64-year-long marriage. If she couldn't imagine spending all that time with Sabrina, then why waste more of her time? I don't think I felt it with Sabrina. Actually, I know I didn't feel it. I thought we could get there. She was so much fun and she made me laugh. But a good friendship doesn't necessarily equal a good relationship. I should feel like she's more like my business partner than my girlfriend. I've never felt it in my chest with her. I know. Wait, you do? Of course. I saw it earlier. I've seen it for a while. Only 2 people in her life made it possible for her to mask her feelings. Brooke had every part of her memorized, and Grandpa Harry read her like a psychic reading a deck of tarot cards. She wasn't sure if she should be upset that he'd been reading her for so long and hadn't said anything, or if she should have been upset with herself for being so transparent to 2 people she wanted to hide her feelings from the most. You need to tell her, Arlette. Mom and Dad are going to be so upset. He waved that off. Sometimes your father mistakes your happiness for his happiness. Yes, he had a dream of you being in the Navy. And yes, has a dream of you marrying Sabrina McKay. But it's really not going to make that much of a difference in his life if you don't. You need to understand something. Your dating life has nothing to do with your mom and dad. You shouldn't ever live your life for someone else. But you do deserve someone who makes you feel it in your chest. She thought back on the last 5 years, trying to pinpoint when she lost sight of the ambitious dreams that had once colored her world. When did they fade? How did she lose the grip on them? Why did she watch them float away? I know the right woman for you is out there, Arlette. You need to go find her. She needed to start living for herself. Grandpa Harry was right again, always her voice of reason. She wanted to see those colors once more, and it started with listening to the heart that she had muted years ago. And scene.
Wow, thanks, Morgan. That was awesome. I'm just going to say, I think everybody needs a Grandpa Harry.
I think so.
Sounds like a great character. So
yeah.
So, quick question for you: what does adding family bring to your story?
It's a good question. I think it brings a lot of foundation to the main character. I incorporate a lot of family throughout my stories, and this one is very important to the story. Arlette comes from a political dynasty like the Maryland Kennedys, and it really shapes her goals and her dreams and what she wants in the story. Her family is very political. She does not care about politics, so there's like this huge contrast of trying to please her parents and living up to the expectations that she set or that were set for her, while also maintaining some individuality. Did I say that right? I think I did. I don't know. With herself. So it plays a huge role in this story, and family shows up a lot in my stories. I think it plays an important part in someone's life.
That's great. That's great. I understand exactly what you mean. It shapes your characters and moves them in the right direction. Sometimes they're not in the right spot they want to be. So I understand. Exactly. All right. Thank you so much. And next up, we will look at Krystina. You ready to read?
Okay. I am ready to read.
Let me give you read your bio real quick, and then you can have at it, okay?
All right.
Krystina Rivers has been a lover of romance novels since she was too young to read them. She started writing them herself when the COVID-19 pandemic struck, and she had extra time on her hands with no daily commute or regular work travel. Krystina works in real estate, but dreams of a day when she can write full time. She lives in Chicago with her wife and their 2 dogs and 2 cats. though she sometimes travels so much for work that she forgets what city she's in. I understand that. She's wrapping up her third book with BSB, which comes out late this year, and is already starting to brainstorm for her fourth. Krystina is reading from her newest release, Last New Beginning.
Thanks, Dena. So I'm reading from Last New Beginning. It's my second book with Bold Strokes Books. It's an enemies to lovers workplace romance featuring Bailey, a hard-headed general contractor, and Sky, a tough as nails real estate broker who's used to trying to shove her way through the door of the good old boys club. It was lust followed by loathing for these two when they first met on a job set. However, they had to work together and also attend a lot of the same events professionally. The most recent of which was about a week ago, where they accidentally ended up kissing at the end of the night. But both agreed that it was a terrible mistake and not to be repeated and never to be thought of again. However, Bailey's heading to a family dinner and her mother has a tiny surprise. So let's join Bailey. Bailey was running late again. Even though it was just a family dinner, she still didn't like it. Unfortunately, she ran late more often than she liked to these days, as it seemed there was always something that held her up at work. This afternoon, she'd still had to stop by to pick Patsy up from before heading to her parents'. To make matters worse, there was an unfamiliar car sitting in the driveway. Shit. That almost certainly meant her mom had some new setup waiting. That was not what she needed. But she clipped the leash on Patsy's collar and they walked in the back door to face the music. They were greeted by a blast of heat, delicious smells, and her mother's booming voice. Where the hell is that girl? Who, Mom? Bailey asked, knowing she was the girl in question. And why are you yelling? Before Bailey could let Patsy off her leash, her mom pulled her into a tight hug. You're so late. I thought we might have to send a search party. Her mom grabbed her chin and shook her head. Sorry, Mom, it really wasn't my fault. Where's Dad and Gammy? And who else is here? They're in the living room with Roxy and a few friends. Shit, the cagey friends. Definitely another setup. What friends, Mom? Oh, just some women I met at the market a day or two ago. Mine was out of ground pork, so I went to one closer to downtown. I met a mother and daughter who were also eating pork, so we talked about what we were making, and apparently we make very similar dishes, Polish gołąbki and Ukrainian chlubcy. So we decided to try each other's. I'm cooking today, and they're going to cook next time. Her mom grabbed her hand and pulled her into the living room, and she was immediately taken aback by the number of people. The small area was standing room only. Gammy and a petite gray-haired woman who had to be the matriarch sat in wingback chairs in front of the windows, laughing. Her dad was sitting on a love seat across from a young blonde with a large smile who looked vaguely familiar, and another woman who had to be her mother. Bailey's attention, however, was drawn to the final blonde standing in the corner next to Roxy. By the small shakes of her shoulders, she was laughing quietly at something Roxy had said. Her hair was twisted up and secured with a clip. The line of her neck was regal in its length, ending at the top of a lithe torso that was comfortably clad in a cream long-sleeve blouse and tight dark jeans. Bailey's body had a visceral reaction to the woman's silhouette, and she was pulled towards her. She mentally chastised herself for objectifying this woman. It had to be her lingering confusion from the gala a few weeks ago that had her stomach stirring in response to a woman whose face she hadn't yet seen. And who was another setup by her mother? Or was it the woman on the couch that was supposed to be her date? Bailey reluctantly looked back to her mother, who cleared her throat to get everyone's attention and started the introductions. First, the petite matriarch, Anna, then Anna's daughter, Yulia, and Yulia's younger daughter, Natasha. When Bailey shifted her gaze to the remaining stranger, Yulia's other daughter, her brain finally registered who it was, and her mouth fell open. Standing next to Roxy with an expression that was a mix of chagrin and suppressed smirk was none other than Sky Cole. And dear God, no. She appeared to be holding the much-hated picture of Bailey from middle school, all frizzy pigtails and Sally Jesse Raphael glasses. She had gigantic braces and was holding her first-place mathletes trophy. Could she be any nerdier? And now Sky, the woman who'd been bouncing through her thoughts for weeks, was standing in front of her, in her childhood home, in front of her, half her family, holding a photo that, in vivid color, showed exactly what a dork Bailey had been. Jesus. Sky placed the photo back on the shelf and broke the awkward standoff when she walked over with her hand outstretched. It's nice to see you again, Bailey, she said, softer than Bailey had ever heard her speak. That sexy smirk was still there, but her ears had a tinge of pink that said she was a little embarrassed as well. How long had she known she was standing in Bailey's family's living room? Bailey wrapped her fingers around Sky's smooth hand that lacked even the hint of a callus, and flashed back to holding Sky in her arms, kissing her in the hidden alcove above the ballroom. Fuck. Good to see you again, too. She congratulated herself on her ability to string that many words together. You two know each other? Bailey's mom asked. Bailey stammered, yes. Damn it, Brain, get your act together. Luckily, Sky saved them. We're colleagues, sort of. I lease one of the buildings that City Beautiful Construction is working in, so our paths have been crossing quite a bit lately. She rubbed at her neck, and Bailey had a hard time looking away from those long fingers brushing against the elegant column. To avoid any stilted conversation and give herself a few minutes to process the turn the evening had taken, Bailey went into the kitchen to help her mom finish the last bits of dinner. Isn't she a looker? Her mom asked as soon as the kitchen door swung behind her. Jesus, Mother. Bailey ran her fingers through her hair. Haven't I asked you to stop doing this? You never listened, and now you brought someone I already know. Can you say awkward? Or was it the other daughter you were trying to pimp me out to? Don't be crass, Bailey. Her mom threw 2 oven mitts at her. Take the potatoes out of the oven. And to your other point, yes, the one you've been making lust eyes at since the moment you saw her is the one. The other daughter is single, but also straight. How does that even come up in casual conversation at the market? Bailey asked. A mother never reveals her secrets, she said. And to find out what happens at dinner and whether or not there's another steamy scene after dinner, which, spoiler alert, there is, you will have to pick up a copy of Last New Beginning.
Awesome. That was great, Krystina. And I love the moms. Moms are the greatest characters. You can build so much around them, good, bad, ugly, whatever. But I love moms in books. So that
Totally.
Yeah. So quick question for you. Let's see. I had 2 to pick from, but we'll go with this one. Are your family members well researched, or do they come alive more organically?
I think they come alive pretty organically. I have a pretty big family who's very involved and they're very tight knit. And although I live halfway across the country from them, I grew up like very closely with them. And so in my mind, that's how families just should be. And so when I want to give somebody a good family and a book, I kind of give them a big family, somebody who's involved, who maybe puts their noses in places where the main characters don't necessarily want, which happens quite a bit in Last New Beginning. So I don't do a ton of research necessarily on them. I feel like it's all organic and families that I have firsthand experience with.
Yeah, that's easy to do when you have large families. I have the same, not large in my immediate, but lots of cousins and everything else. So there's a lot of things to family events, family things to pick from when you're writing about that. I've actually had to look at how it is to be an only child. That was difficult for me, but thank you very much for that.
Right. I'm actually writing an only child now, and it's a lot harder because it's very different from my own experience. So
very, very different, I've found too. So good luck with that. Let me know what you find out, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and what do we got? One left. Kris, you requested to be last, so you're last. So
only because of football. Come on.
Still go out with a bang, okay? Yeah. And you're happy about the football, right?
I am. All right, my Chiefs won, so yoo-hoo.
Woohoo! So, all right. Kris Bryant writes contemporary romance and erotica. She enjoys binge watching shows, snacking, and working with animal shelters around the world through her Patreon page. She does awesome with that, everyone. She really does. Great stuff. Kris is presently working on her 19th full-length novel with Bold Strokes Books, and Kris is reading from her newest release, Catch.
Thank you. So here's a copy. Here's the cover. Everybody loves the cover of Catch. It is a past present story, and the family dynamics in this. My character has a very strong family support. Her father's very encouraging for her whole career in football, and the person I'm actually going to focus on is her best friend Haley, and has been her best friend since elementary school, because sometimes your best friend, they are your family. Your best friends are your family. So, so I'm actually going to start with a chapter, and I'm going to like skip around and jump to the end of the chapter. So start of the chapter, end of the chapter. And it's chapter 16, and it happens in the present, and it's called 1 Minute of Truth. I grabbed Haley's hand and pulled her to me before we walked up the driveway. Thank you for doing this for me. I know you had a hard time getting away for the night. Haley smiled at me and patted my hand. I love you, but I did this for me too. I'm invested in this now. This way, I have firsthand knowledge of how she is, how you are, and if you can have a friendship with somebody who destroyed you. She gave me an angelic smile, but underneath her halo was a fierce woman who was used to fighting for her family. She blinked at me 3 times and increased the intensity of her smile. I rolled my eyes. Come on, let's get this over with. The reunion of a lifetime. How do I look? Haley looked amazing. She had gone all out for tonight. She had her hair done, spoiled both of us with mani-pedis, and even though fall was here, she wore a sleeveless dress. She had gained 50 pounds when her last was born, but worked hard to lose it, and in the process came away with a lean, muscular body. Too bad you're married with 500 kids. I'd take a crack at you. She kissed my cheek. I wouldn't leave Mike to raise my devil children alone. Nobody deserves that punishment. I knew she was joking. They were a handful, but they were sweet and fun. Are you ready? She turned to me. I saw the fire in her eyes and something sinister perched on her smile. Oh, I've been waiting for this for 15 years. I gave her the look, the same, you better behave or else look she bestowed on her boys. Play nice. I have to work with him for the next several months. I whispered. We walked up the stairs to the front door in silence. Grayson opened the door before I even rang the doorbell, and for a moment I wondered if they heard our conversation on the camera. I'm so glad you're here. He looked pointedly at Haley. I know you. I remember you from high school games from way back when. She studied him for a brief second before holding out her hand. I'm Haley, Sutton's best friend since grade school. I went to all of her games. Haley was being kind. I begged her to go to my games. My biggest cheerleader. Fuck, did I really just say that? She looked at me wide-eyed. Come on in. Can I get you anything to drink? Grayson motioned for us to follow him into the living room. It was an open floor plan, and both Haley and I aimed for Parker in the kitchen. She pulled something out of the oven, and I was able to study her for a moment without her seeing me. She wore a red V-neck cashmere sweater and high-waisted jeans that hugged her curves. Her hair was pulled back in a casual ponytail, and her accessories were minimal. Grayson was wearing a dark blue button-up and jeans. They complemented each other well. We bought a nice red if it fits the meal. Haley handed Grayson the bottle. When Parker put down the oven mitt and joined us, I felt my heart thud. She still had it, that undeniable hold over me. I knew Haley felt it too because she tapped her foot against mine. Oh my God, Haley, what a nice surprise, Parker said. She offered a hug, which Haley accepted. Parker turned to hug me too. It would have been too awkward to refuse, so I bit down and held my breath as she gently pushed her body against mine. I forgot how tiny she was until I felt her in my arms again. Surprise, I'm Sutton's date tonight, Haley said. Where's Lexi? Parker asked. We broke up, I said. Parker's eyes widened. I'm sorry to hear that. You seem so... She dug around for the right word. Connected. I barked out a laugh. She didn't like my work schedule or my dog, so I had to kick her out. You didn't kick her out, Haley put her hands on her hips. Lexi met someone else because Sutton is apparently emotionally unavailable. Or that, I said, knowing Haley was trying to make it sound like it wasn't my fault, but in the process made everything sound a lot worse. Grayson shot Parker a look. She returned it with an equally puzzling one. Haley glanced my way and furrowed her brow. Great. Haley was going to make something out of nothing. I'm sorry to hear that, Parker said. She meant it. Her features were pinched in concern for me, and suddenly the dinner party felt more like a pity party. Really, it's okay. We weren't meant to be together. I don't know why she moved with me to Connecticut. I felt like a failure because I was talking to an ex and her husband about the woman who just left me. So then there's the dinner scene, and they caught up on life, and it's very fluid. It's not awkward. So now I'm getting to the end. Parker stood to clear the table. Who wants dessert? She grabbed her and Grayson's plates, and I grabbed ours and followed her to the kitchen. My eyes darted up and down her body. She'd matured nicely. She had curves and took care of her body. I knew that Haley struggled a lot after each birth with body image. Being a quarterback's wife came with a stupid set of unwritten rules. Parker obviously took that to heart because she looked the same size as she did in high school, only more curvy. What's for dessert? I asked, not really knowing what to talk about. Boston cream pie. She looked at me expectantly, as though daring me to question why she chose that particular dessert. Oh, Boston cream pie was my favorite. It wasn't a coincidence. I didn't take the bait. I couldn't. That sounds delicious. Homemade or store-bought? I knew it was homemade. She made me one for my 18th birthday. It was lopsided and the chocolate frosting melted because she put it together while it was still warm, but it was perfect because she made it for me. Homemade. I've come a long way in the last 15 years. She sounded angry at me. I walked around the island and stood beside her. You really have. My voice was low so that only she could hear me. When she looked at me, I saw how vulnerable she was. Her happy-go-lucky attitude over the last few months was a front. We stared at each other for a long time. I wanted to reach out and pull her to me, but it wasn't my place now. I wasn't her safety anymore. She had a different life, and as much as I wanted things to be different, she was untouchable. Things are different now, Sutton. She was always good at reading my mind. Are they? Because they look the same as they did when we were kids. I took a step back. Whatever was happening in this kitchen was something that we put behind us a long time ago and needed to stay there. She took a step forward. Things aren't as black and white as you think. I would love to grab dinner with you one night, just the two of us, and tell you things that should have been said a long time ago. My heart steeled itself against her words. No wonder Lexi said I was emotionally unavailable. The moment I started feeling things, I shut down. I think we should just leave things the way they are. I don't need to know whatever's going on in your marriage. We should just keep things simple. It's the smart thing to do. I smiled ruefully and headed back to the dining room where Haley and Grayson were talking about NFTs. It's like I recognize the words, but they mean nothing to me, I said, jumping into the conversation as if the last minute didn't happen. Grayson laughed. My agent wants to do something with them, so maybe I'll actually start paying attention. Okay, enough of that. Parker walked in with the pie. I never understood why it's called pie when it's clearly a cake, Haley said. The knee bump under the table let me know that she was aware that Parker made my favorite dessert too. It looks delicious, I said, and gave her a soft smile. Even if it was horrible, I was going to eat every last bite. We spent the rest of the night laughing and having a good time. I tried to put the conversation with Parker to the back of my mind, but I kept catching her looking at me. She wasn't looking at me like a friend. Thankfully, Haley and Grayson were strong reminders of why Parker was off limits. So I just focused on good company and good conversation. As much as I dreaded the evening, it turned out to be fun. Thank you again for letting me crash your party. It was good to see you again. Haley pulled Parker into a hug and accepted one from Grayson. I hugged both too. I knew Parker needed friends, and if I could get through this night, then having a friendship with her was doable. Haley and I were silent until I pulled out of the driveway. Holy fuck balls, she's still so into you. Haley squeezed my leg. I mean, I was waiting for the room to explode. So much chemistry. Fuck, I can't have that, sis. She's married to my quarterback. I'm technically his boss. Please tell me you're just reading into it. Haley turned to me, this time squeezing my arm. Are you kidding me? The tension was there when we walked in the house. At first, I thought he was oblivious, but did you see that look they shared when I said that you and Lexi broke up? I clenched the steering wheel, refusing to let my mind wander. He knows we have a past. I'm sure that's all it is. We even talked about it before he took the job. I told him there wasn't a problem with us working together. I paused, thinking back to Parker searching my face for answers in the soft moment we shared in the kitchen. Her guard was down for a minute. Mine was down for 45 seconds. I looked at Haley. She's off limits. Haley sighed and flopped back in the seat. I know. All of this sucks for you. It can't be easy. It's weird, really. At first, I was avoiding her at all costs. I locked away the feelings I had for her. I never let go, and seeing her again just brought everything to the surface. That's why I'm suffering now. Haley's soft voice punctured the momentary fairy tale. She's suffering too. Maybe if we stay up all night and talk things through, you'll feel better about your situation. That always worked when we were young. I took her hand. Thank you for being the best friend in the whole world. Ride or die, sister. I nodded. Ride or die. End scene, per Morgan.
And scene for Morgan. That sisters, you can't live without sisters. I have one. Not everybody has one, and not everyone has a ride or die sister. So that was great, and I love the characters with the past. There's so much baggage that comes with that.
There is, and this is the first time I wrote, kind of a past, present, and also young adult. I guess part of the book is, when they were 17, 18, and then the rest of the book is present day, which they're in their 30s, mid 30s.
Yeah, I love those and then you have to figure out in the middle what happened, why it didn't work out. And then
Right.
you also got now in their forbidden love. So man, Kris, you
There's
just
a lot going on.
a lot. You threw it all
It's
in
a
there.
lot. And there's
So,
football.
always football. And that cover. Wow, that cover. So let me see a question for you. Let's see. Does writing an LGBTQ plus story change the way family is portrayed within it?
I think so. I mean, because it's not, there's the whole process of coming out to your family. And I think that's, it's straight people don't come out, they don't have to, or maybe they do, I don't know. But coming out is very sensitive. It's a very sensitive and vulnerable thing that I think just heterosexual people don't have. They don't have that. They might have the, oh, you like that boy, or oh, you like this girl, the whole teasing. Whereas there's a whole different level of admitting your sexuality to your family. And I think that, unfortunately, it doesn't always go well for people. And that's why I think a lot of LGBTQ people have chosen families instead of, biological families. I have both. So,
yeah. I'd agree. I mean, I have both too. So it does make a difference. So.
It really does.
Thanks, Kris.
Thank you.
Everybody else wants to hop back on here. I don't see any questions in the Q&A. We've still got a few more minutes. We can do some more questions. Anybody else want to answer that last question? Are there thoughts on that? Or we'll pick a new one. You can pick a new one.
I feel like Kris already did kind of a perfect job of.
She did.
And scene.
I'm not. Right, exactly.
And
scene. That's it.
All right.
Can I just say I can't believe that everybody else forgot to bring their wine.
I'm just, I can pretend that this is wine,
Yeah.
but there's a big lemon slice in it, so probably not.
I'm very disappointed in some.
I slur enough as it is. Throw a little wine in there and it just gets
Tina's done. She's done with this day. We're just going to end scene.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll start with Krystina on this one. And I'm curious to see, with such a large family, do you ever base your family characters on your real family?
That is a very difficult question to answer. I would say that there are like little threads of things that have happened with my family that kind of like weave their way in. Never any of the matchmaking stuff or not matchmaking, but interfering, kind of pushing them together. That didn't really happen. My wife and I have been together since I was way too young for my mom to have ever done that. And that's not something that they do. But I think there are certain things in some of my books that, yes, have come from actual events that have happened in the family. But I can't name names just in case they're watching.
I agree. I do it all the time. Just events and, just things that have happened. Little quirks. I get it. Sander, how about you?
I think it depends. I think there's pieces about my family that I write in that I particularly enjoy. Some of those like quirks, but I also feel like there was a time in my life where like family was very turbulent, and so for me, some of the family members I pick, or even the friends I pick who are closer to family for characters, can have more of what I wanted someone to be when I was going through something. And I'm not very close with my dad, for example. And so in Speed of Slow Changes, Al has a great dad. Well, he has his issues. Yeah, he's problematic in some ways. Don't cancel him. He gets better. But at the same time, like that process of getting better is what I would have wanted from my own father. So it's like, I'm like, let's write you better. I don't know. So some of it, I doubt anyone in my family could pick the details that are them. So that's nice. I also, I'll leave it there.
I get what you're saying. You have something to draw from, something to improve on, or, just something crazy that happened that you need to get out on paper. I understand that. So, Morgan, how about you?
I do. And it's fun for me to watch my family react because they like to read my books. And I wrote my sister in my first book. My sister's really into astrology, and I wrote a character in, and my sister Maddie and picked up on it, on the character Madison. She's like, "Wait, is this about me?" I was like, "Yeah, it is." And then the whole family plot of Infinite Summer was definitely based on my parents' divorce. And it's funny to just like wait for my mom. She's like, "Morgan, I'm reading Infinite Summer." I'm like, "Oh no, she's gonna find out this is all about her." She's like, "Wait, what? This sounds familiar." So that's fun. I find it entertaining, but I sprinkle some family members and situations into my story and then watch them react.
Well, hopefully they take it well.
They do. They take it well. They're good sports. They laugh.
They're famous
It's
now.
all good.
Come on, yeah. So, how about you, Kris?
No. No.
I found this out earlier today, so.
So I don't put family members in my stories because I don't really have a lot of family members. That sounds sad, but I don't have aunts and uncles and cousins, grandparents. It's just me and my sister and my dad.
And us. You have us.
And that's why I have my chosen family too. So I guess I kind of put in people who I would be best friends with. Like my best friends in my books are the people I literally would be best friends with. And I do take a little bit of each person in my life and I put them in my books, but I don't think it's enough for them to know, unless like, there's like a secret like agreement that we all said, "Oh, I'm going to put this in my book and this is for you," and stuff like that. So, but for the most part, it's just my imagination and the family either wanted, like I wouldn't know what to do with a big family. Like I wouldn't know how to write a big family. So all of my characters in my books don't have large families. That I just don't have that experience. So I wouldn't know how to get away with it. So
Gotcha. Makes sense. All right. We just have a little bit of time now, so I'm going to do a lightning round. So let's do favorite snack food. Sandra.
Oh, Cheetos for sure. Mhm.
Yes.
That's
Morgan.
the only answer.
Yeah.
Oh, Cheetos, flaming hot Cheetos.
Wow.
Anything spicy, chips and dips. That's my number one. I need them in my life.
Krystina.
Cheese and crackers, always cheese and crackers. If I have a bad day at work, come home, cheese and crackers or dinner. So always cheese and crackers.
Kris.
So here's the thing. So I was at a movie the other day and for the first time went to a movie theater, and this isn't lightning, I understand. But my sister handed me a nerd's rope, whatever that is. And oh my God. Oh my God.
So good.
So I ate mine and then I
You're
looked at my
stubborn.
sister and I'm like, "Can I have yours?" And she's like, "No." So then I asked my dad, I'm like, "Can I have yours?" And he's like, "Yes." So my dad gave me his nerd rope. And so now I think that's my snack. It's not really a healthy snack, but I mean, but it sure is good.
I love
Has anybody
nerds.
had a healthy snack yet? I don't think
Is
so.
there such a thing?
Right? Was that your first time at the movies, Kris, when you said first time, or like
First time since COVID.
okay.
Not ever in life. I'm not that sequestered, but close. But no, it was first time since like 2020 or whatever.
2020. Well, we only have 1 minute. I don't know if we can do another lightning round, but we
Quick
could do
lightning round, not slow lightning round.
We got slow lightning round.
Yeah, that was my
so,
fault.
Yeah.
I
So,
slept in.
all right, we'll do one last one. Krystina, we'll start with you. Booze or no booze while writing?
Depends on what I'm writing. Normal scenes, no booze. Sex scenes, always booze.
Always booze. Okay. Morgan?
No booze. I'm boring.
Well,
I know.
Kris?
Nope, no booze. Usually I'm writing during like at 10 in the morning, so no booze, or really late at night. So
I would
that's
have a mimosa. So,
mimosa. Good point. Bloody Mary, spicy.
Sander?
Pretend booze. I don't drink personally, but as in like writing mode, I like to pretend that I do. I don't know. It helps.
I'm pretending.
It's just about the glass. You never know, right? So,
Yeah, it sets a mood.
All right, well, we're out of time. Thanks everyone for joining us. Hope everybody enjoyed the readings from the wonderful authors. And next up at on the hour is Opposites Attract with the fabulous Georgia Beers as a moderator, and lots of fabulous authors there too. So thanks everyone.
Thanks, Dena. Bye. Good to see everyone.